Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This week I am going to be showing you my 5-star predictions. So these are books that I think that I'm really going to enjoy, and I'll give you guys a little synopsis of the book and my reason for why I think I might rate it 5 stars. These are in no particular order. I will do my physical books first, and then I'll talk about some ones that I don't own. I'm just hoping that when I read these that I will really like them. The first book I have is Defy the Night by Brigid, Kemmerer. I think it's a enemies to lovers fantasy between a commoner and a royal. There's also a plot that is about this sickness that's happening in the kingdom. They are trying to provide the elixir or the cure. I think they have to work together to help the people who are sick. I'm not sure if it's enemies to lovers or if it's more like forbidden love, since he's a royal and she is a commoner. But yeah, that sort of plot is one of my favorites, so that's why I think I'm gonna really like this. I've heard really good things about it from people online, so I'm looking forward to reading this. And I've also seen quite a few books by this same author that have been given good ratings as well. Then we have The Raven Boys by Maggie, Stiefvader. This author is the author of one of my favorite books called Scorpio Races, and I think I got this recommendation back in high school. The main character, the little tagline here says, "If you kiss your true love, he will die." It's like forbidden love. So the main character becomes friends with this group of boys, and the Raven Boys is what they're called, at a private school, and she's told that if she kisses her true love, that he'll die. But I'm really interested to read this because I haven't read any other books by her besides Scorpio Races, and I loved that book. So I'm really looking forward to this and really hoping that I'll like it. Then we have The Iron King by Julie Kagawa. This is a YA fantasy, and this book is about a girl who learns that she is the secret daughter of a fairy king. That sounds like a very interesting premise to me. Also, this series is like 10 books long, so I'm really hoping that I'm going to enjoy this one because I want to be able to read the whole thing. That sounds like so much fun to get into a big series like that. I have also heard very good things about this, and I'm also interested in any book with the fae in it, or the fairies, so that is something that I'm excited to read about. Then we have Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This is a YA mystery book, and I think it's set in a private school. I don't want to read the synopsis for this. I haven't read it myself because I don't want to give anything away to myself. Like for mysteries, I want to know as little as possible. But I've heard really good things about this. A lot of people compare it to, well, not compare it, but like talk about it along with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I've read the first 2 books in that series and I really enjoyed both of them. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one and seeing if I like it just as much. I'm also interested in the like private school type of plot. I've read like a short story written by Maureen Johnson, and I really liked that. She wrote a portion of the Let It Snow book with John Green and Lauren Miracle, I think is how you say her last name. But I really liked her story that was included in that book. So I'm looking forward to this. Then we have You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogle. This is a closed door romance, I think. Don't quote me on that. But this is about an engaged couple who their relationship is not going well, and they've decided they don't want to be together anymore. But if you're the one who breaks off the relationship, you have to pay for the deposits and things that they've already put down for the wedding. So they are trying to get each other to break the relationship off so that that responsibility won't be put on them. I think that premise is so interesting, and I said this in a previous video, but it reminds me of the movie How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, which I really like that movie. So I am really excited to read this book, and I've also heard good things about it from some of the YouTubers that I watch. Then we have Skyward by Sanderson. This is a YA sci-fi book. I have never read a book by Sanderson before. If you don't know who he is, he has a lot of fantasy books. I think most of them are adult series. His fantasy worlds are like super complex and all intertwined throughout his series, and he's just like the king of fantasy books. But this one is actually sci-fi, and it reminds me of Aurora Rising, the premise. It's kind of like a group of people who are all pilots, like space pilots. What do you call that? Anyway, their world is under attack and they are going to flight school to learn to defend their world by flying like spaceships or whatever you would call that. I'm really interested in this one because I've been wanting a sci-fi, YA sci-fi, similar to Aurora Rising. I'm really looking forward to reading this. Then we have Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I have heard great things about this book. This is a sequel to Kagawa, which I have heard that world that Stephanie Garber has created is very whimsical, and that this book is very like fairy tale-ish. In the beginning of the book, our main character believes in true love, and her true love, she thinks she's gonna marry him. He ends up marrying someone else. She teams up with the main male character to stop the wedding, and the story goes on from there. So I am really excited to read this. Yeah, I've just heard such good things about it. Like, all the people that I follow have read it and given it 4 stars or above. I think that I will also very much like this book. So I'm really looking forward. How many times can I say I'm looking forward to reading these? That's what this whole video is about. But okay, the next book is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Earlier this year, I read my first V.E. Schwab book, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It's my favorite book of this year so far. This series is one of her fantasy series. The synopsis is kind of interesting. There are 4 different Londons, which I believe are kind of like 4 different dimensions, but they're all like different colors, and the main character has the ability to go to these different dimensions. But I tried to start it on audio and it just wasn't clicking for me. I wasn't getting into it and I wasn't listening to it, paying attention enough. But I've heard really good things. This is one of my friend's favorite series. They also came out with new covers for this book and they look so good. And she's also coming out with a new series that's like the sequel series to Darker Shades of Magic. A lot of people talk about the romance in this series as well, which seems kind of like slow burn, and I don't know. It just looks really good. I am super excited to read it. The next book is Renegades by Marisa Meyer. This book is about superheroes, and there are like 2 kind of factions, I believe, like 2 different groups. The Renegades is one of them, and the other one is kind of like the police, something like that. But it's like a YA sci-fi book, and I have seen a few people read this recently. I've never read a Marisa Meyer book before, but she has like a lot of great books that people talk about a lot, so I'm interested to see if I will like one of her books. Superheroes just sounds so cool to read about. I think I'll probably end up enjoying that one a lot. Then we have Betting on You by Lynn Painter. This is a YA romance book. Lynn Painter wrote Better Than the Movies, which is also one of my favorite books of the year. I gave that one 5 stars. She also wrote The Do-Over. I gave that one 4 stars. I have just really enjoyed the way that she writes her books and the way she writes her romances. It's kind of like an along the way sort of romance instead of like the whole plot being about the romance. There's like something else happening that's still really interesting while the romance is happening. So I really like that, the way that she writes it. So that book hasn't come out yet, but when it does, I am really hoping to read it immediately and enjoy it as much as I enjoyed Better Than the Movies. And the last book for this video is The Other Side of the Sky by Amie Kaufman and Meagan Spooner. This is also a sci-fi. I believe it's categorized as that. It's also fantasy. It is a forbidden love type of romance. So we have the main male character who lives in a city in the sky and the main female character who lives on the surface. and the synopsis is kind of vague, but it says that their lives are intertwined. I was just looking up like YA sci-fi books to read, and this one came up, and I got excited because I love Amie Kaufman. She was a co-author of the Aurora Cycle series and the Lumine Files series, which are two of my favorite sci-fi series and favorite series overall too. Amie Kaufman and Meagan Spooner also wrote These Broken Stars together, which I read that book a long time ago. I don't remember very much of it, but I remember enjoying it. So I am really excited to read this one. I feel like it's gonna give similar vibes to that one, which I remember the vibes being great. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading it and picking it up whenever I feel like reading a sci-fi story. Those are all the books that I think I will give 5 stars when I read them. I am really looking forward to looking back on this video after I read some of these and see if I was right. Maybe I'll do like a follow-up video in a few months after I've read a majority of them. Let me know if you guys are interested in that video. Yeah, I really hope that you guys liked this video. It's kind of like a recommendations video that I haven't read yet and seeing some of my physical TBR. And I really hope to see you guys next week. I post on Wednesdays, so if you guys are interested, subscribe, and there will definitely be some similar content coming soon. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye!